Welcome to the 7th District Congressional Report hosted by Congressman Leonard Lance.
Hello, this is Congressman Leonard Lance. Welcome to the 7th District Congressional Report. Today my guest is Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform. We're going to discuss a little-known governmental agency attached to the Library of Congress called the Congressional Research Service, that for more than a century has compiled thousands of reports on current events and issues before Congress. The CRS information is invaluable and often cited by U.S. senators and members of the House of Representatives during debate of important policy matters. But this information is closed to the public. A tradition of secrecy found its way written into statute, shutting out the American public from access to this publicly financed information. I am leading an effort to bring that to an end. I have authored House Resolution 34 that will open CRS reports to the public. Taxpayers pay for these reports. Taxpayers should be able to read them. It is time that taxpayers get to use what they are paying for. At least $100 million every year goes to funding valuable public information that countless people would find useful for schoolwork, research, or general information, but they are shut out from having access to it. This effort picked up a major endorsement recently from Americans for Tax Reform, and I'm very pleased that Grover Norquist has agreed to join me today in support of this effort. Thank you for being here, Grover, and please tell us why your organization is supportive of what I'm trying to do.
Sure. Well, I was delighted, Americans for Tax Reform was delighted to hear of your leadership on the effort to get CRS reports online. It's an important issue on its own. $100 million spent every year doing studies which only a few people get to see. Maybe a congressman or a Congress and somebody could get their hands on it, but not the general public. Congressmen can cite it, but then citizens at home don't really know whether they correctly cited it, whether the study was 2 pages long or 200 or what was really behind it. I think it's part of an even larger issue, and that is if the government paid for it, it should be available to everyone. There are other reports done in other areas, and I think this can help break those open when the FDA does studies on drugs and whether they work. That material should all be available. If the federal government funds a study at a university and somebody puts out a study or at least 2 sentences of it, the whole study, the whole scientific data should be available for everyone to see whether it's nonsense or whether it's sound science. So for the government to spend a lot of money and act as if they were doing a really good job, then give you a 2-sentence summary of what's there, but you can't look or you can't look easily, or maybe some lobbyist could figure out how to way to get their hands on it somehow, but not somebody living at home, is ridiculous. This, as you point out, is paid for by the American people. They should have it. Some of it's very useful. I think it would also discipline the people who write it. If they knew that anybody, starting with their immediate relatives and neighbors, could look over their shoulder and read their work. If congressmen knew that everybody could read a study that they were going to quote, and they really were only looking for one number in a bigger study, they might demand higher quality work because they don't want to quote a study that looked shoddy, that gave them the number they wanted but didn't really hold water. So it's I hate to say $100 million is a small issue, but here in D.C., it's smaller than other big ticket items, but $100 million, even in Washington, is a lot of money.
My concern is that lobbyists are able to get their hands on these reports by one fashion or another, and yet the American people, students, those who follow issues closely aren't able to do it. And I hope with your leadership and others that we're able to move forward on this matter.
What you've done is shine a light on an issue that I think makes so much sense that I've never heard anyone, when I've started talking to people about it, who said, well, you know, there's a good argument why it's secret. They go, you mean it's not? I didn't know that. That's ridiculous. And are you finding the same with members as you're talking to them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is bipartisan in nature. Congressman Quigley of Illinois is working with me on this issue, and I hope that this legislation will pass. Another important issue is the fact that under Obamacare, insurance companies can be bailed out for their losses. Now, I have been involved in this issue, and in last year's appropriations bill, put language in that act to make sure that it was neutral in a budgetary fashion. And I'm attempting to do that in the appropriations bill that I would imagine we will pass soon regarding the rest of this fiscal year. And I know that your organization has been involved in that as well. Your point of view regarding bailing out insurance companies under Obamacare.
Sure. I think your rider, the amendment that you're talking about, is extremely important. It was important the first time. It's important to keep it there. I realize you have to do it each year because it's on appropriations. When Obama was passing Obamacare, this 3,000-page piece of legislation was a mess. It was sort of done in the House, it was sort of done in the Senate, wasn't thought through. It was never presented to the American people over any period of time. They didn't let you look at it for a week even to try and walk through it. But they knew it was a mess, and they just threw it together figuring that as it failed, they'd come in and patch it up. And they'd just raise taxes to make it fit, and they'd spend more money to make it fit. All of the fixes were going to make it more expensive for the American people, and they didn't want to admit that ahead of time. They also went to some major corporations in America and said, if you support our bill, Obamacare, we'll put in these subsidies for you, which they hid from the American people. So Obama and the Democrats in Congress don't like what you're doing, which is pointing out that these subsidies they were planning are going to be a huge amount of taxpayer dollars to bail out insurance companies that had to do stupid things because the administration's law, Obamacare, made them do stupid things. Right now, they've forced a lot of expenditures and costs on insurance companies, and then we pay most of that bill. But it's so big that even we as consumers are not paying the whole freight. They're losing money. And what you did is, if you want to claim you're going to subsidize one guy and tax another guy, it's got to be revenue neutral, not a net tax increase on the American people. I think that what you've also done is shown a light on the fact that this is sort of corporate welfare. You're subsidizing losers, and you're punishing people who are more effective and efficient. Then you're going out to taxpayers. And the Obama administration, in reaction to your leadership, has said, we'll go out and steal the money from somewhere else. And we'll just spend it anyway, even without a law saying it's okay. I don't think they'll get away with that, but it does show how desperate they are to bail out their crony business friends who got talked into joining them in Obamacare. And we're the ones paying the bills.
And over in the Senate, Senator Rubio is working hard on this issue, as is Senator Cassidy, who formerly served with me on the House Energy and Commerce Committee when he was in the House of Representatives. And I want to give Marco Rubio and Bill Cassidy a lot of credit for their hard work on this issue. And on other matters, what are you thinking we should be doing next year regarding tax reform in this country?
Meaningful tax reform requires a different president, somebody who actually wants to see taxes lower and easier for people to pay. Step one, we need to take rates down. Tax rates are too high, particularly business taxes. We're at 35% in the United States. European average is 25. China's at 25. The Canadians are under 17. We're not competitive because we're handicapping men and women who try and work, and our business taxes are higher than other countries. So we need to take that down. We need to go to a territorial tax system where you only tax things that happen in the United States. We don't want foreigners taxing things that happen in the United States, and we shouldn't be taxing stuff that happens overseas. We punish people for bringing money back to the United States. We should sell, yes, good, do, not tax it. We should expand IRAs, 401ks, all the efforts that let people save for their own retirement and their own health care, health savings accounts, and so on. So there are a series of reforms along those lines. And on the business side, full expensing, so that when a business is able to make you more productive by bringing in new machinery and so on, they shouldn't have to pay, long depreciation schedules. They should expense that, like we do with labor costs, people's wages, the year they spend the money. That would dramatically reduce the cost of getting new equipment to workers and make them more productive.
I encourage you to continue your superb leadership in this area, and I hope that we get to this. Perhaps it will take a new president, but Congress is working hard on this issue. Thank you for being with me here today, Grover.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your insight on these important issues, and to find out more information about current legislation, visit my website at lance.house.gov. While visiting, please send me an email with your views on issues we have discussed here today or any other issue before Congress. I look forward to hearing your views. I'm Congressman Leonard Lance. Thank you for watching the 7th District Congressional Report.